Going live. Kia ora koutou. Welcome to the launch of A Sky of Wretched Shells. My name's Amon, I'm from Good Books. We're hosting the event in a socially distanced live in store sort of thing, and also streaming on YouTube, which is what you are probably watching. We've got a few speakers here tonight, so I won't stay for too long, but we're just really happy to launch this great novella. It's the third in the novella series from the Cuba Press, and Whitireia publishing students have also done a great job on this as well, so we're really excited to have this in store. So I will welcome Anna and Bryden. Great, to the mic. Also, buy the book online, and Mark will sign it at the end of the night for you in a personalised message, so you can send him a message as well. Great, thanks.
Kia ora koutou. Hello, everyone. My name is Bryden Smith. I was one of the editors and project managers for the book that we're celebrating, A Sky of Wretched Shells. To start, I'd like to thank Good Books for hosting us, such a wonderful event. And thank you to Whitireia and to the Cuba Press for the opportunity to work on such a wonderful project. And to our tutors who aren't here, but Odessa and Teresa, thank you so much. And the Cuba Press, Paul, Sarah, Mary, kia ora. Your guidance and your care has been incredible and invaluable and sincerely appreciated. And to the team that I was lucky enough to work with and project manage, your intelligence, your work ethic, your creativity was inspiring and never ceased to impress. So thank you so much for all of your work. And Mark, our incredible author, thank you for writing such a wonderful story and for giving us an incredible, wonderful protagonist to work with. Accompanying Mala throughout his journey was a privilege, a great pleasure. Your writing and your story are truly worth it. It is a worthy thing that we have done. And this is your night. So I will say thank you for your trust and your generosity and for allowing us to be part of A Sky of Wretched Shells. So kia ora, kia ora, kia ora. I'll now pass it over to Anna Jackson-Scott, my co-editor and co-something, project manager. We're there. Thank you.
Kia ora, thanks Bryden. Kia ora koutou, thanks for joining us. Ko Anna taku ingoa. I was the other editor and project manager on the amazing A Sky of Wretched Shells by Mark Blackham. So I was also part of the Whitireia course, and it was just such a wonderful opportunity to work on Mark's first full-length novella. Such a great story and just amazing to be part of that. So thank you, Mark. Thank you to the team, as Bryden has already said. It's also just such a thrill to work with an author who uses language in such a fresh and exciting way. So I'll keep it short. We'll hand over to Mary, but we're just so excited to launch A Sky of Wretched Shells into the world, and we really hope you all enjoy it. Over to you.
Right, I can take it off. Just a minute. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. I'm Mary McCallum of the Cuba Press, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of three of us. We're all sort of scattered around. So there's myself, Sarah Bolland, and Paul Stewart. Just the three of us, as I said, but actually this year we expanded somewhat to add on another 8 people with the Whitireia group who were working on Mark's book, and we had another 3 students come in through the year on placement and working as interns with us, which has been absolutely amazing actually for us all. So we find that these students bring with them a fantastic fresh energy and focus and fun, as well as all their unique skills that mark them as potential editors or designers or marketeers or project managers. It's actually a horrible kind of title, right? But it's a very important job, as we all know. Their regular visits led to some stimulating discussions, and their approach to the project inspired some incredible creativity, we think, and inspired us. So thank you to you all for your hard work and enthusiasm. This book really would not be what it is without you, Mark? There's the manuscript and then there's the book, and I think you've seen really clearly the difference between the two things. Specifically, Anna and Bryden, you've been intelligent and assiduous editors, quick to learn the ropes, quick studies, both of you. It's been really lovely to see. And as well, calm and assiduous project managers. Very important, that word, calm. You, Bryden, listen to the tone of that guy. Nothing's going to rile him, right? We've loved your passion for the job and the way you've been strong advocates for the book. You can see, Mark, how much they love it, right? They're in love with it. It's just lovely to see. Maddie, your cover design is exceptional. We got an amazing cover from a Whitireia student for our 2020 novella, and we did not expect it to happen again. It's just, we thought, a one-off. It's a publishing course, right? Not a design course. But it did happen again, and we are really stoked with it. It's just beautiful and commented on by many, I have to say. Luke, Siobhan and Steph, kia ora for your amazing, where are they? Luke's down on the ground over there. For your amazing marketing efforts and fabulous social media campaign that kept on giving right up to the last minute. Amazing. Brooke and Kathy and Maddie too, I think, was involved with the typesetting and design, sort of. Hey, she got stuck on the cover, that's fine. The lovely work on that. The book looks amazing. I'll just hold up. Yeah, we've probably seen it briefly. You can see that there? Just a lovely looking thing, beautiful in the hand. I also need to thank Odessa and Teresa of Whitireia Publishing for making it all happen. Of course, they run it and they do an amazing job. To summarise, we couldn't be happier with the finished product, and we're delighted with what it adds to our series, because 3 books really does start to feel like a series. So we've got, I have to show you there because they look really, actually the students have done it better on social media, where they kind of flick through them, but they just look, I think, pretty cool together. I should put yours at the front, Mark, because, hey, it's the front runner. Very cool. So now, I do want to talk a little bit about Mark and working with him before handing over to our launcher, Pat Mcshane. I first met Mark when our children were going to the same school. I was picking up his twin sons one morning. One of them's here tonight. You were much smaller then, much smaller. And Mark thrust a sheaf of poems into my hands and said, "You're a writer. Could you read them for me and tell me what you think?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." So I went off and read them. That Mark, I think that was 15 years ago. So you really were small then. What I read showed real talent, I felt then. What I didn't know was that this poet actually wrote a range of other stuff: speculative fiction, horror, comics. Incredible. The horror so horrifying that on reading it will stay in your head for weeks, months, more, longer. And also that there's this unique voice in all the writing that includes, as Anna says, inventing words for things when Mark can't find the words he needs. The words, and all those many words in the dictionary aren't doing the job for you, so you just go off and randomly invent them, which threw the editors right near the beginning, I have to say, but they got used to what we call, word of phrase, Mark words, Markisms, yeah, that sounds quite good. Anyway, the long and the short of it was, I insisted he join a writing group I was running at Rona Gallery in Eastbourne, where we lived at the time. And in time, that group became known as the Rogues, which kind of sort of summed us up, I guess. We started meeting at each other's homes and sharing writing, and that was 10 years ago. And we've eased off the regular get-togethers now, but we're still connected, as you can see. It's taken most of the past 15 years to persuade Mark Blackham to send his work out into the world. Bit by bit he has, but each time it's as if he's not quite convinced what he's written is worth anyone's time. Well, I have to tell you, Mark, I'm convinced. I think all of us who worked on the book are convinced, and we hope you are now too. Are you going to nod? Shrug. My God, he's incorrigible. I almost had to tie you down to get you to sign the contract for the novella, didn't I? So maybe next time you'll come in voluntarily. That would be nice. You are a published writer. There is no going back. Okay, keep that in mind, right? Now, I'd like to introduce Pat Mcshane, also a member of the famous Rogues writing group. Pat is a writer of thrillers and war stories and fantasies, and he's an old friend of Mark's too, and I think he'll have some interesting things to say. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mary. Good evening, everyone. It's a real pleasure. Where's Mark? Oh, there he is. It's a real pleasure to be asked to launch this book. I haven't launched anything in my life, so this will be good. But so it's great, and it's a real privilege for a number of reasons, which I'd like to talk about now. I guess the way I'd like to approach this is I want to talk about two things. One is I'd like to talk about Mark and my experiences of working with him as a writer and now published author, and the book itself. So a couple of things. So let's get underway on that. I think so. Mary talked a couple of times about Rogues, so the writing group, which has been an amazing experience. So based in Eastbourne, that bohemian capital of art and literature and talent over there, and it's been a really great group to belong to, and Mark's been a really key person in that group right from the get-go, and I want to talk a little bit about that because for those of you who do write and or attempt to, like I do, it can sometimes be a really wonderful thing. It can also be a really soul-destroying thing, particularly when editors and agents get hold of your work. And it's sort of like you kind of go, my God, at times is this even worth doing, And having a writing group like that is a really big help. It's a wonderful thing, and in no small part having Mark as part of that group. And it sort of it brings me to recall a story I like telling, and it's a true story by all accounts of Charles Dickens, and he's talking about where he's suffering from writer's block, and he walks into his pub one day, and he walks in and he goes, I can't believe I'm doing this, and he walks in and he goes up the bar, and he's in a hell of a state, and the barman says, "What's wrong?" He says, "Oh, it's terrible. He said, I've got writer's block. I can't think of a thing. There's nothing there. I've got nothing. I'm blank. It's writer's block." And he says, "I can't take any more. Give me a martini." And the barman goes, "Olive or twist?" But Mark is a little bit like the barman in the Rogues group, right? So we would have times where, and when I say we, it was the rest of the members of the writing group, you'd go in there and you had nothing. You'd go in there and you'd written stuff down for the last month or 6 weeks, and you'd come up with I don't know, this is rubbish, right? And the stuff you got from Mark was really great. Mark sees the world differently. And in that respect, it's great, right? Because he has a different view on your writing. He has a different view on how it could look, how it could shape up. So he's really motivational. He was great. He's a bit like a boxer, Go into the corner, get dusted off, sent back out there again. It's a bit like that, He was really hugely supportive, and it's been tremendous working with you, Mark, on unselfish, just gave his time, gave his effort, gave everything to it, right, which was really great. So he always left you with a feeling of when you come away from these Rogues groups as everything is possible, right? You've just got to have a go at doing it, and it's been fantastic, mate. Yeah. I just want to talk about when you read his book or any of his work, and just on that, we've there's and I'm sure, Mary, there'll be lots of others, but some of the work that we've seen that came across us at Rogues was fantastic that you haven't seen, and it's really different, and I think it's really different because Mark sees life differently a bit, right? But he has this real talent of being able to translate how he sees life a bit differently onto a page, and that's really enjoyable for the reader. And I think that's a real art. That's a real skill. That's really well done. It's not the first time he's published either, by the way. We've talked a bit about this, but my first exposure on being published was in the Eastbourne anthology, a red-hot, lust-filled, deviant sex type read that's full of all sorts of really outrageous stuff, as you can imagine, coming from Eastbourne. But he moved on from there to actually embarked on a comic. And for those of you old enough, you'll recall the war comics, the little square ones. Remember those? He wrote one of those. Incredible. And it's a really cool thing to do, right? Yeah. And it was just, again, his skills. And he also sometimes writes, and I don't know if people know this, Mark, but he sometimes writes in the name of Carlington Black. So this is his pen name at times. So, keep an eye out for that guy too. He's quite good. You can't learn how he writes. So that comes from inside, right? And it's a skill and it's a talent that I don't think you can go to a night school and learn it, right? You can't go to uni and learn it. It's a real talent. It's inbuilt. And I think that that shows up in your writing. It's fantastic. It's really great. So about the book, have I read it? About 1,000 bloody times. We've seen various iterations of it, and I think I've seen so many now I don't even know how it ends. But it's great. It's a great book, and in fact the Rogues writing group, we lived it, we experienced it, we went right through it all with them. It was just fantastic. Here's another Rogues guy coming in late, but thanks, Pete. Mary touched on it, and I would just like to make this point about the book. It's a book of our time, so it's a really good read for all the reasons I've mentioned before. But it is very relevant today, and I think there's some really great messages in there for us to think about, and to, as with any book, and as Mary would say, it's not about show us, don't tell us. And the way he writes very much is around showing us things that we can then work out and sort out for ourselves, which is very powerful. It's about there, I think. I just got a couple of things. So I think I would like to acknowledge the Whitireia team and the Cuba Press crew. It's a really nice piece of work. It's a lovely book. It's a great cover. It shapes up really well. So back to Mark. So on behalf of Rogues, we're incredibly proud of you. It's great, finally some success for someone. The rest of us continue. Congratulations on it. It's a wonderful achievement. And so I propose that we let's officially call this thing launched. Shall we? Yeah.
Thanks, Pat. So, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about how this book came about, where it's come from, and kind of what's in it. I think the usual thing to do is read a bit, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not very good at reading. I'm not even sure I'm very good at speaking, but we're going to have a go. So I think it's okay if I take a copy because I feel more confident with it in my hand. This came about because Sola, my wife, she wasn't back then, and I went to Micronesia, and this was in our mid-20s or thereabouts, and we went as we were going to do our OE. We're going to end up in England, and for some strange reason, I wanted to see the Micronesia or the Pacific Islands where World War II was held. The locals didn't really have a say in that. And also, I've just always had an idea about being cast away on a deserted island, and we managed to do that a couple of times. So that's where the inspiration came. There's a piece in the book which I think kind of sums up everything about the islands, and also I think probably the theme in the book itself. But it derives from a moment in Pohnpei, which is part of the Federated States of Micronesia, where the locals, some of the people we'd kind of shacked up with, I guess. I think we were staying in an actual shack, a concrete thing with a roof or two, bit of corrugated iron. They were doing a kava ceremony where they were making some kava. This is the real stuff. This is the stuff that gets pounded on the rock. There's a place, the rock, where it's always done for this group of people that we were staying with. And we did all that. We ground the root, we wet it, and the water comes over the rock and drips down and gets collected. And we obviously spent some time drinking the thing. But there was there was a moment when we were drinking, and then there was a moment when I realized no one had been speaking for some time. And I was staring at the stars. And I think I must have been staring at them for some time. But you feel like your head's in the stars. They were all around me. And my feet were through the earth and into it. I could feel the movement of it. And that connection, sky and earth, was, I don't know, it's connection with everyone who's around me. It's connection with the earth, a connection with everything that was in it. And that is expressed in a moment in the book when one of the visiting scientists is in the water and the lagoon and is seeing exactly the same thing. And it's the connectedness of everything that was experienced by her in that moment. It kind of shattered a lot of the science. It shattered a lot of with the build up for her of the poison and the social environment that she had been in Europe before she arrived at the island, and how the simplicity had connected her with everything. In fact, when I think about the islands and my time there, which was now 40 years ago, it was all about connection. When we were on deserted islands, it was connection with the shark that went past every evening cruising for food, and the manta rays that did the same thing in the mornings. They all seemed to take it in turns. And the ocean that would go through almost the same currents and the same patterns, and the storm clouds that would be out at sea and you'd watch them track across. Those patterns are also found in the book, the patterns of life that are all around us. And I think from somewhere in writing this book, I realized that the patterns that we see in the earth are the same patterns in the universe. The currents, there's a it's not a theory, it's an actual thing that the traditional Pacific navigation relies on seeing currents and patterns and knowing how they work, and knowing when you see a particular style of wave and pattern of wave on the surface, you know how far you are away from land because the wave bouncing back. Those are the same currents that are in string theory, which is the gravity that holds the universe together. It all seems to me to be connected, and I thought, well, how you can imagine that a Pacific navigator could understand the universe, and that is why the book exists. There were some challenges as I put the book together. The Yapese language and Woleai, and I didn't know. If we knew anything, Solar, I forgot everything. Yeah, it was 40 years ago. So I had to reacquaint myself with that. And Woleaian language is very particular and specific to that island. In fact, it's got dialects even within the atoll. So I wanted to integrate that into the book, and I know that was a bit of a challenge for the editors. We didn't understand how to treat that. How do you make sure the reader understands what the hell you're talking about? In some ways, I'm so focused on recreating the reality of the environment. I don't think necessarily about the reader, and the editors and Mary helped me do that. You know, the reader can't understand what you're talking about there, and they're going to need to do too much work to do that. So that's also part of the experience of the book, is understanding, learning about the reader and how you have to make some accommodation for that. Star maps. I've learned more about star maps than I knew anything about. And the cool thing around a star map, and that is how they navigate by knowing where the stars are, is that the person is always in the center of those stars, and that's a very humbling thing when you realize the universe is revolving. It's not revolving around you, but in fact you're just part of it, part of this big cosmic experience. Geology, because I've wound in one of the theories around working in the book is that there's a geological disaster, not just a climatic one, and that the poles are shifting. And it will please you to know that, in fact, the poles are shifting quite dramatically. I like the idea that we're in for a big flip. There's been 168 of them I might get that wrong, 182 of them in the last many millions of years of the Earth. I like the idea that we're in for another one, and the drama of that and what happens in that kind of in that environment, and that's working the science into the story. To thank people, I want to thank Eamon for holding this, because in a COVID period, people who are being innovative and trying to work around things and make it happen is a good thing. We should be trying to do that, carry on life despite the circumstances. I want to thank the whole of the Whitireia team, but particularly Anna and Bryden, because this book is 20% better because of that, the contribution they made. And I think quite humbling, because obviously I felt something about the book, but the fact that these two people had felt deeply about it as well, you kind of go, goodness, maybe not only is there something to this, and it really is an important thing to do, but boy, I'd better do right by them and make those corrections that they had suggested. Mary, of course, for dragging me into it and being tireless in her support of writers, and the very good ones and the okay ones in between. I'm sure she knows the difference, but if you're one of the writers, you don't necessarily feel that, which is a good thing. And Sola, for whom I would have only experienced the kind of things I went to the Pacific Islands for, which is the military history. We were surrounded by old planes, old warplanes and things like that, connect with that, and that's what I wanted to do. But because of Solar, we connected with people, and that's why there's a book. So thank you to all, and thanks very much. I really do hope you enjoy reading it. Thank you.
Congratulations to Mark, to the Whitireia team, to the Cuba Press for the launch of this great book. If you're watching this after the fact, you're not watching it live, we will get Mark to sign a stack for the shop. So if you want a signed copy, you can buy one online, or you can come in and get one from us here at Good Books. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Visit our website if you're not already on there, and yeah, get yourself a copy. Thank you very much. Cheers.